Hey guys, it's Alicia, and I'm here with my second Saturday stash dive. Me and KittyScrapper, who is Nancy Sinclair and who is also fabulous, teamed up this week to do alphas. We also have our guest designer, who is Ellenfreshdelight, and she decided to add onto ours using sentiment stamps. So, um, yeah, sorry, I was getting sidetracked for a second. So, yeah, that's our challenge for the week. So, here I am. I just started off showing some products that I'm going to be using. A lot are from the Oh Darling collection by Crate Paper. And that wood grain sheet that I have right there is actually from a DCWV stack that's available at Joann Fabrics, and it is called the Gilded Stack. So what I did right there is I just cut like a curved on the bottom roughly third of the paper. And I did have an idea in mind going into this, so we'll just see how it takes shape. That's what I was doing during the layout. So for some reason, the DCWV papers, as you can see, are just slightly under a true 12 by 12. So I'm going to trim this down to 11 by 11, and I'm actually going to add mat it on a true 12 by 12 size at the end. So you'll have to excuse me. It is really, really late at night, and I've had a long day, so I'm a little bit everywhere, but I'm going to try to get through this narration the best I can, so just bear with me. So like I said, I did have a plan in mind for this layout, and it started with kind of blocking off the top part, and that's where I'm going to do most of the part of my dive at. Well, the whole part actually. So these are some stamps by Paper Smooches, and forgive me, I did not look at the name, but I believe it's something like Sweet Sentiments or Scripty Sentiments, it might be. And so I laid those out where I want them to be. And then I'm taking these gold thickers, and they're chipboard. And I believe they're from possibly the first Maggie Holmes collection. I could be wrong, but I think they're called Rain Boots. But I love them. They're like a gold foil and a cursive. So they're really pretty. I have like three packages of them. So now I'm just taking some alphas, which is our challenge, and these are some basic gray, like raw chipboard alphas that I have. And then these are some chipboard thickers. I believe they're called Eric, maybe, but they look like a cork and they're smaller. And what I was doing is I was going through my thickers, which I have quite a few of, and I was picking out chipboard ones first of all because I knew I was going to be using my heat tool. And then I was just looking for variations of fonts and sizes, and I didn't want anything too cursive with my alphas. I wanted, a clear font. And then I was also looking at like those cork ones I don't use very often. And these red ones I really love, but I have two packages of them. So, and they were a nice clear font, which is what I was looking for. So there is literally no rhyme or reason to this other than I'm not trying to put the same letter too close together, and I'm not trying to have too many of the same, you know, uh, font together. So just like a very random pattern. And I put the stamps there because I know after I'm done kind of doing what I want to do with these alphas, I'm going to want to stamp there. So I wanted to make sure I left room. And so to remember where each stamp went, I grabbed the top half of that wood grain paper that I had cut, and I just placed them accordingly on there and set that to the side so I would know. And now I am just peeling off the backs of those basic gray chipboard letters and sticking them down. And as you can see, I have a palette full of gesso there. So much came out, but I end up using quite a bit of it, so it's okay. And I have one of those huge, I mean, gesso is, pretty affordable, so I wasn't too upset about too much coming out. But yeah, so here you see me going with a paintbrush, and I'm just brushing over all of the letters, and I'm just trying to get like a even playing field here because, obviously there's bright red ones and there's, brown ones and then there's the raw ones, which, are easy. So I dried it and I actually ended up putting 3 coats of gesso over these and dried it in between each coat, and that's kind of what I was left with, and I was happy with that. So then I picked out 3 sprays that coordinated with the Oh Darling collection, and this first one is Mustard by Heidi Swapp, and I'm just spraying that and drying it. So while I'm doing this is going to take a bit of time. I just thought I'd give you a little background on this layout. So what I had in mind was kind of something that I don't normally do, which this layout in my mind was representing a a message that I wanted to convey. So all of these letters kind of jumbled together are kind of representing the things that happen in the day or the things you hear in the day or just how so much happens and it can be confusing and it can be a lot. And some of it you don't understand, and that's kind of what these letters are representing. And I wanted them to all have a level playing field so I could mist over them so that they would essentially become part of the background. This layout is going to include a picture of my daughters, which also the picture is very, represents something for me that all kind of comes together in this layout. And I'm sorry if I'm not making sense. I hope I am, but you'll kind of get it once it all starts coming together. But this is basically representing just all the hoopla that happens during the day. And now I kind of wanted to convey to them when they look at this layout that no matter what happens, just always take from whatever happens in your day that you are loved, that mommy and daddy love you guys. So that's kind of what this is representing, if that makes sense to anybody but me. So moving on, all the mist is done. I also used Blush by Heidi Swapp, and then I used I think it's called Green Shimmer, and that was like a recollection spray from Michaels. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking the stamps and I place them back where, they fit into that upper part there. And I'm just stamping it on with some brown stays on because I wasn't sure if my regular inks, like a dye ink, would stick over all of that mist and gesso very well. So I just played it safe and did brown stays on. So yeah, I'm just stamping each one on there, and I'm not being, too picky about it because the paper did warp a bit. And so if they don't come out perfect, like that smooches one right there, it kind of didn't stamp perfectly at the end, but I'm okay with that. So, and these words just kind of represent words that you might hear during the day, And so basically the gold thickers that I had laid out earlier that say love, that's kind of just representing to pull that out of everything and make sure that that's what you hear at the end of the day. That's probably was the easier and shorter way to explain all of that. So I'm just taking some vintage photo here and I'm just running it along that curved edge there. And I'm going to take my ATG, which was conveniently acting up this whole layout. And I'm going to just put it on one side so that I can line it up easily. And then I'm going to tape the rest of it down. And I actually kind of got that tip from Corinne's Creations because she does that with her score tape, and I just thought that was a brilliant idea because I'm definitely not a first time get it right type of girl with tape, so and lining things up. So here's the picture I was talking about, and I just took this picture a few days ago, and we were at this park by our house, and it's just a picture of my 2 daughters, and they're holding hands, and they were kind of they were walking down a hill. But, to me, with this layout, it kind of just represented, walking away from the day, and what I want them to take from each day, which is the love that, we all have for them. So, and I normally don't do really like symbolic layouts like this, but I thought this was a perfect opportunity. And when the idea hit me, I thought it was great. So, for me. So I'm just cutting out the middle of this 12 by 12 sheet that I'm going to mat the whole layout on, which I also normally don't do, but I only have one sheet of this and I really like the other side too. So then there was my ATG acting crazy. So yeah, I'm just going to take this vintage photo again and I'm going to go around the borders of this piece of paper here, or the 11 by 11. It's pretty close. And I'm just going to glue those together. And it's also going to help a bit with the warping. I mean, it's not going to be completely flat like a new sheet of paper, but good enough for me. So yeah, I settled kind of on that pink and white chevron for the border, and I think that looks good. So I'm going to map my photo now, and I'm going to put it on this brighter pink to kind of allow it to stand out a bit more. And I just love that picture. It's so cute. And then I'm going to mat it again on this green floral, which I think kind of brings out the greens in that picture. And I have to apologize for the coloring on this video. I used a different setting on my actual camera when I filmed it because it did look better, in the camera window, but it's not looking better on screen. So I apologize for that. So now I'm just going to put some foam tape on the back of this picture to pop it up a bit. And now I'm thinking, because I am paired with KittyScrapper and she is the doily queen, that I would throw a doily on here. So I'm just going through various doily items that I have. And these are like some lace stickers that are from the dollar store here. And they were cute, but I don't end up using one here. But I do have these doilies that I found at a thrift store quite a while ago, and they're really like intricate and vintagey, and they're not like a true white, so it went well with this. They're a bit of a off-white, very sightly. I'm just taking my glue pen and repairing the V in Love because the foil had started to peel off a bit. So I just glued that back on with my glue pen there, which I love. I love that thing. So yeah, I have the love kind of coming down from that bubble. That's what I envision it is like a kind of like a speech bubble, but without the little tail on it. So I have those kind of coming out of there, to represent, just make sure that that comes out of all the stuff that happens during the day. And yes, I hope it's translating like that to you guys. That was my intention. So I put my picture down on top of the doily, and now I'm going to use these Prima canvas letters. And I settled on these because it is part of the title, but I wanted it to blend in a bit. And that this part is going to say always take the, and then, the love. So my title is always take the love, but obviously I wanted the love to be more prominent. It's the only gold piece on this whole layout, so it is kind of unique for in itself on the layout. And so I just wanted to make sure this was a little more faded in the background, but actually, as you can see, it's like really faded in the background. So I'm going to try a couple different things to help pop it out a bit. So I pull out my Prima chalk inkers at first, and I should have just stuck with that, honestly. But then I get this idea where I'm like, oh, I'll just take my vintage photo distress marker and, try to do some, oh, at first I thought Inca Gold, but it was the wrong color gold. Now I'm going to take my, vintage photo marker here, and I'm going to try to do a little bit of like outlining on one side, but it was just not yeah, it was not looking correct to me, and I kind of blobbed it on the S, and the tip of my vintage photo is kind of fraying. I don't know if maybe one of my kids used it, but I was having a hard time. So then I was like, well, it's distressing, so I'll fade it out with some water a bit, and that was not working. As you can see, it just pretty much took it off of the canvas. So then now I finally wisen up and grab a couple chalk inkers and just kind of brush them on there with the pointed tip. And that color is a little too light. I mean, it's the same color as the canvas. So I take this, it's called Vintage Rose, I believe, or Vintage Pink. And I smear a little bit of that on there and kind of blend it with my fingers. And yeah, that's good enough for me. It makes it pop enough to where you can see what it says, but not overbearing. So now I am taking some like twine, I guess it's called. That's just from the dollar spot at Target when it came in like that natural color and the pink color. And I'm taking some Claudine Helpmuth multi matte medium. I think that's the whole name of it. And I have the jar, so I just took a paintbrush and kind of brushed it on there. And then I'm laying the twine over there. And that was part of my original idea when I was thinking this layup in my head. But I forgot it. So then I added it here. So yeah, and I just think that added some nice texture and then kind of softened that raw edge there, where the wood grain paper met the rest of the layout. So I'm going to stick the doily back on there and I'm going to do a bit of embellishing. So with the Oh Darling collection, I have, the sheet of cut aparts and I'm going to cut one off that says, I think it says she's growing up so fast or they grow up so fast, something along those lines. Um, so I knew I wanted to include that on there because I'm definitely starting to feel that way. And I'm sure it's only going to get worse. So, and then I also cut off this little banner that says love you, and it just fit perfectly on top of my younger daughter's head there in the picture. So I just put one staple on there, which I'm going to end up covering so you don't see it at all. Because it is a silver staple, and I didn't want it to clash with the gold chipboard over there, or thickers over there. So I do have the chipboard that comes with this collection, and so I'm just kind of going through that, and I pick out that flower and that bow, but the flower is going to go. And then I picked out the ephemera pack. I also have like the cards, like the 4x6 and the 3x4 cards that go with this collection, which are in that tray also. But I'm just looking for a small piece to layer behind that tag that I cut out of that sheet. So I'm just looking through here and I'm gonna find something in a second. I keep thinking I want to put a flower back there, but I don't end up doing that. I end up just settling, I think it's like a ticket or something, just to peek out. And then I thought about that tag, but yikes. I didn't want anything that was going to take away from the picture or my meaning, to the layout. So I settled on this ticket and it was just enough to kind of have a layered look right there. So I'm just gonna put the chipboard bow down first and I peeled off the backing and then I realized there was like a gap where it was hanging over because the picture was popped up. So I just cut a pop dot diagonally and stuck it behind there. And now I'm going to layer these two pieces together and pop up one side and then just glue the other side down. So everything is even. And let's see, what am I doing now? Okay, so now I'm going to pick out some, that was my daughter saying hi. Now I'm going to pick out some enamel dots and just some little accents. So I have these flares that are pretty old from American Crafts, but they're real, they're very girly and pink and gold and green. And so I'm going to pick one out, and that one just says love in a variety of colors that match the layout. So I just stuck that there. And now I'm just going through some enamel dots and stuff, seeing what I want to do. And then I freaked out because my daughter grabbed that paintbrush with the multi-matte medium and was brushing it, but I think it was already dry at that point. I was like, no, please don't. So these are some wood dots. I guess they're not enamel because they're wood, but they look like enamel dots. They're just made of wood, and those are from My Mind's Eye. And so I just decided to put a few there. And I thought about putting that darker one next to Cutie, but it was just too, too bold. I kind of wanted those to blend, but just add a bit of texture and interest up there. So this is a roller date stamp that I have, and it's a Pebbles roller date stamp, and it has everything to do with daughters and girls and baby girls and things like that. So they have one on there that just says sweet. So I put that one on there and the date, and then I stamped it out with some chocolate chip Stampin' Up ink. Just at the bottom, sorry, it's kind of, oh, you can kind of see it down there. I double stamped it. So once with the full ink and then again without re-inking for a faded look. And I'm using a Micron pen in the uh, oh 05. I don't know if it's point oh 0.05 or 0.5, but I showed it to you. So if you know, then you know. And I'm just going to do the journaling and I'm going to run it around the border of the layout. And the journaling is basically just explaining, that, they're the biggest blessing that me and their father have ever had. And, to always remember that no matter what, we love them unconditionally and to, um, you know, always take that from every situation, regardless what the situation is. I mean, that's not, word for word, but that's basically the meaning of the journaling. So, and I just ran that around the border. So it just kind of gives a little interest. And then I feel like they will probably take the time to read it, whereas someone who's just looking through the scrapbook probably won't be turning my scrapbook all around to read it. So, so there was a close up, and thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed watching,